Welcome to the Natural History Cupboard. Come on in. And welcome back to the Natural History Cupboard podcast, the place where the weird and wonderful and Christmassy parts of the natural world come together. It's Christmas.
It is, yes.
It's Christmas. Celebrate Christmas. There you go.
We get demonetized for doing impersonation.
Only if you start singing it, I think.
Right, okay.
So it's our Christmas special. We're here in the cupboard. We're all Christmased up. In fact, this is the first time we've had video at Christmas. So we've had our first Halloween episode on video. This is our first Christmas episode on video, where we're not just sat behind the microphone. Then we didn't necessarily needle the Christmas get-up.
We didn't, no, which is why it's kind of cobbled together. Next year we'll probably have
I like the change of lights.
Yeah.
This is getting to be a theme now.
Yeah.
We're getting a different set of lights for each special occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as to match our special occasions, this is going to be another one of our Christmas specials where we'll bring you a trio of Christmassy, polar, wintery species to look at. And to do that, we obviously need three of us. So the third member of our Christmas episode is my wonderful wife coming in now. Hello, Paris.
Hello, everyone.
Joining us remotely from our home. Mostly because of small children being asleep.
Yeah.
Sleep in their beds or sleep in it.
Someone has to be here.
Well, I'm out and about gallivanting into the cupboard.
Absolutely.
Not even a mouse. Thankfully, I don't think we have any mice.
No, we don't. But there you go. There's a creature feature that we could do for next Christmas.
Oh, there you go. Note that one down. So you're joining us all the way from the other side of Barnstaple.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I've got Christmas food here.
No, thank you. Not for me.
No.
He's already sick of them.
Yeah, well, you don't like them.
No, I think they're absolutely disgusting things.
Paris, do you like a mince pie? Would you like a mince pie?
I tolerate one or two this time of year, but that's about it, really. I'm not a big fan either.
Let's see if I can get. Hang on. Let's see if I can get that on the camera.
Much like Marmite.
Thank you.
It's disappeared.
Much like Marmite, mince pies are just gross.
No, it's the wrong attitude. Well, I'm just going to have to eat them in the gap between now and our creature feature.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
I'm going to. So, let's head into our trio of festive creatures, shall we?
Let's do it.
Onwards.
It's the creature feature.
Right. Well, I finished off that mince pie, and I'll finish off your one later. So, it's a hard job. Somebody's got to do it. But I'll put in the hard yards.
You take it for the team.
I will. So we're into our festive trio of creatures. Paris, you are getting to start things off by, well, what are we looking at for your first festive creature?
Ass.
Keep in mind, this is a family show.
The donkey or ass that's normally associated with Christmas is my creature feature for this Christmas.
Yeah. Take it away.
Okay. So the donkey is a domesticated equid. So the oldest known equid ancestor is the Dinohippus, with fossils dating back almost 10 million years ago. So the whole family's been around a while. Donkeys are derived from the African wild ass, whose Latin name is Equus africanus. However, there is an argument over whether the donkey may be classified as a subspecies, Equus africanus asinus, or a separate species altogether, Equus asinus. To assist with that argument, documented cases of both fertile and infertile offspring have been recorded from matings of the donkey and wild ass. And normally it's registered as a different subspecies or species once they can't cross back over, but some still can. Donkeys were first thought to be domesticated around 5,000 to 7,000 years ago in Africa, with evidence being found of more common use around 4,000 years ago, and a quick expansion almost worldwide soon after that, although they didn't make it to the Americas until around 1550 AD, roughly. Originally, donkeys were used more as livestock. However, evidence of pet donkeys were found as far back as 1200 BC in richer Egyptian households. Generally, though, donkeys were used as pack and plough beasts, as well as for meat and dairy, and there's several possible reasons for the mass replacement of other domesticated farm animals with donkeys. It's thought they increased productivity and mobility, so as they didn't need time to chew their cud, unlike the ox that they had usurped, they were able to recover faster from each journey or farming session, unlike horses who took quite a while. This allowed for increased farming time, increased travel time, and longer distance trade. Whilst donkeys have a slightly longer gestation period than ox and horses, at between 11 to 14 months, 11 is not premature, 14 isn't late. It can be any point in that season and it still be normal. They have almost half the infant mortality rate of other domesticated farm animals, meaning that over almost the same period, more donkeys would survive past infancy to adulthood, which is great for all industries. They're also more used to arid conditions, being born from a desert-dwelling species, and inherited a lot of their adaptations, which many other domesticated species didn't have, or didn't have all of them combined. Some of these adaptations included a hardy digestive system, which is able to break down the majority of even the toughest vegetation and extract the moisture efficiently, leading into their ability to withstand long periods without fresh water. Their big ears, which were able to help cool them during the hotter days, and their shaggy coats, which help reduce heat loss during the cooler times. They can, however, struggle in more colder and wetter environments, but just like every other domesticated species, those who did better were selectively bred from, creating new breeds. The average donkey is about 120 to 160 centimeters at the withers, weighs around 300 kilos, and lives for up to 60 years, with a 30 to 40 year as an average lifespan. The smallest donkey breed is the miniature donkey, which hails from the Mediterranean islands of Sicily and Sardinia. At their smallest, measure 90 centimeters and weigh 200 kilos, and regularly lives up to 60 years. The largest breed, the Mammoth Jack, hails from the USA, measures 170 centimeters tall on average, and weighs around 520 kilos. However, sadly, they only average a 30 to 40 year lifespan.
So, big donkey.
Mammoth Jack is, if you were to say to me, guess what Americans call their donkeys, I would have guessed something, maybe not specifically Mammoth Jack, but it would have been something like, Bison Jack or something. It would have been something like that.
To me, that name sounds like someone who you'd be wandering out into the frozen wastelands of like Alaska or into the sort of the Rocky Mountains or something and come across someone living in a cabin called Mammoth Jack.
Yeah, Mammoth Jack.
Who just happens to be a giant person who hacks down trees with one hand.
It's one of those side missions on Red Dead.
Yeah, basically, you've got to take out Mammoth Jack.
Paris, you mentioned that. Sorry, I don't want to stop you too long, but you mentioned like on average, even though they can reach 60, on average, donkeys mostly get to like their 30s. But then you said that was a Sicily, this kind of smaller breed, the pint-sized breed, that they actually do reach 60. Is the difference the climate? That climate is just far more like far more agreeable to them. Yeah,
I think it's probably down to a generalized mammalian thing. When you create a breed, so instead of a species, you're creating a breed.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, when you miniaturize, they usually live longer.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
It could be something to do with less pressure on the body organs, less pressure on the joints. It's the same with cats, dogs, horses as well. So Shetlands live longer usually, whereas the larger breeds live less.
Yeah.
It'll be that lovely Mediterranean diet they're having,
Yeah, olive oil.
Yeah. I'm just oiling
probably closer to their original, what their parental species came from. So that might be some of it. Yeah.
So, like that you mentioned, I think you chuckled at this, that house donkeys in ancient Egypt.
Yeah, I love the idea of a house donkey.
I actually think I
We're not
actually,
getting one, by the way. Just.
I do know
No
of someone
problem.
who has house donkeys. I don't know them personally, obviously, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has 2 house
Donkeys,
donkeys.
doesn't he?
No,
He does. He does. He has Shetlands. Yes.
are they Shetlands or are they
Nah.
donkeys?
Oh, I thought they were Shetlands, but they could be donkeys.
I think they're donkeys. I'll have a look at that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I during COVID, he was he was in his kitchen and he sat at the table doing this video, and then this nose comes up to him. He just starts feeding it as a
Yeah.
carrot at his table.
Put the carrot
I
down.
saw the same one.
Oh, have you? Yeah, well, there we go. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a man of
Well, you say about a couple of pet donkeys. Some of the richer Egyptian households had a herd of up to 1,000.
Yeah, but you're not
Wow.
keeping them in the house.
No, but they were pets. They
Yeah.
weren't being always used for breeding. They were pets.
That's what you fill the pyramids with. Donkeys.
Donkey.
You heard of donkeys stacked up.
Just the last little bit. All donkeys have shaggy coats, which they shed twice a year. They have hoofed feet, which require care, but not as high maintenance as a horse or ox. And just like horses, they have teeth that constantly grow, so that needs maintenance. Worldwide today, there are over 185 recognized breeds of donkey, with an estimated 41 million donkeys worldwide, 11 million of which are in China. And as just a note of interest, not all donkeys have the shoulder stripe marking. Some only have a dark line that goes down their spine. So every domesticated donkey has the cross across the shoulders is a myth.
Makes sense that it would be.
Well, I can tell
Too
you,
many breeds for it to be that uniform.
yeah, I can tell you, I've worked with 2 donkeys. That's no way to talk about my co-workers, but
Really good cross section there. Go.
no, I've only ever worked with 2 donkeys, and I got to admit, I've never been a horsey person, but they've kind of changed my mind. They've got personality to them. There's something about them.
They can be really affectionate. They're stubborn, but they're not stupid.
Yeah, I think that's what I liked about them, is they were just they know what they wanted. They were like the same sort of mindset that tortoises have of, I want that, and I don't care if you're standing there. I'm walking through here.
Yeah.
It's your fault. You're in my way. You know.
And they love a butt scratch.
Yes, yeah, they're like a good brushing.
I've never worked with donkeys. I've worked with a few asses though.
I made that joke. You can't do the same one.
I didn't hear you say it. Sorry. Sorry. I have worked with Somali wild ass.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah. They are cool. Worked with them. Przewalski's horses, but they're not donkeys.
I think the closest one would be onagers after that.
No, not worked with those.
Or Kulan.
Kiang, I've worked with.
Is it Kiang?
Kiang, yeah.
Don't forget their wild cousins, the zebra.
Yeah, I've worked with zebra. Yeah.
Only one for me. I've only ever spent time around one zebra.
Zebra
Was grumpy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zebra grumpy. Yeah.
Grumpiest thing I think I've ever come across. That's saying something. That's yeah. Oh well, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Right. Well, it's now my turn for a polar species, but not a modern polar species. This one. When we picture dinosaurs, we don't often think of them in the snow, and that's because of the rather sort of false idea that we've been sold in paleomedia for a very long time, that the whole of the Mesozoic period was warm, tropical. There were always volcanoes in the background. You know, it looks like all of those classic sort of dinosaur pictures from the 1960s sort of thing, you know. Always a plume of smoke coming from that volcano, always dinosaurs battling each other to the death in the foreground. But this simply isn't true. Over the 165 million years that dinosaurs walked the earth, excluding modern day dinosaurs in the form of birds, there has been massive global and local climate changes, and the average global temperatures have fluctuated throughout time. I mean, 165 million years, that's a lot of time. A lot of temperature change has occurred. Now, saying that though, the global average temperature during the Cretaceous period was warmer than it is today. It was around 18 degrees C, which is roughly about 4 or 5 degrees warmer than it is today. So it was warm.
Sorry, just Arnold Schwarzenegger with a donkey.
Okay,
Sorry,
focus, people.
it's
Focus.
still so random. But there we go.
It was warmer than it is very much today. However, at the poles, dinosaurs would have experienced climatic extremes unlike that experienced by dinosaurs in the rest of the world. And there were dinosaurs at the poles. Both the Antarctic and the Arctic had land masses at that point that were not covered in polar ice like they are today. So Antarctica looked very different. And in fact, if you go all the way back to our Cryolophosaurus episode, we talk about, well, the frozen crested lizard living in a tropical paradise that was the Antarctic at that point. So maybe I should have saved him for a Christmas episode.
Isn't that like the whole basis of Alien versus Predator?
No, the premise of that film is I bashed my head against a wall and decided to write a really rubbish Alien and Predator script, staple them together and go, job done. Anyway, back on track.
You're not wrong.
However, at the poles, there would have been dinosaurs experiencing habitats different from everywhere else in the world because at this northern and southern extremes of the planet, they would have ranged from anywhere to 10 to 12 degrees during the warmer months. So kind of like, I don't know, sort of a Icelandic summer, spring sort of, or British summer, spring, although it can get warmer than that here. But in the winter months, it would have dropped down as low as -2 or possibly 3 to 4 degrees in temperature. So quite a drop. The other thing that they would have had to have coped with is 3 months of total darkness, which is exactly what happens nowadays. For any of our people who are watching in Antarctica, I don't think we have anyone in Antarctica, or people in Norway or Finland, where it's basically pitch black. I mean, we complain how pitch black it gets in the UK at 4 or 5 o'clock at its worst. Imagine living within the Arctic Circle where it is dark for 3 months.
Yeah. And
I just can't think of anything worse, actually. I hate this time of year when it comes to things like that. I'm very much, I prefer the light. But those animals would have experienced freezing temperatures. They would have experienced the hardships of these months, and they would have experienced snow and ice. So if we take that view of there being a polar landscape in the northern reaches of North America and the southern reaches of Antarctica, we would have seen environments somewhat similar to northern boreal forests today, just with a different sort of habitat. If we were to zoom in the late Cretaceous period, around 70 to 68 million years ago at the Prince Creek Formation on the north slopes of Alaska, we would see stalking the snowfields like a modern day polar bear, or possibly by the fact that we're both wearing Star Wars ones, a modern day wampa roaming the snowfields. We would see Nanooksaurus. Now, probably the polar bear moniker is more apt. This mid-sized tyrannosaurid gets its name from the Inupiat people who gave us the word Nanook, which means?
I don't know what it means. I know that there's I know a polar bear called Nanook, so I was going to go with polar bear, and you mentioned polar bear already, so I was feeling good about it.
It literally means polar bear.
Oh, there we go.
It's their word for polar bear. So yeah, it is basically let's bolt lizard on the back there, Nanooksaurus, and then you get yourselves Nanooksaurus, the polar bear lizard. Which is a nice name for an animal like this. The full species name for it is Nanooksaurus hoglandii, and that is to honor the philanthropist Forrest Hogland for his work on philanthropy, cultural institutions within the area, and I believe he donated some money to basically the excavation of this animal as well.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, I think hoglandii is still quite a nice name for this animal.
Yeah.
So, before its formal description as Nanooksaurus, numerous tyrannosaurid teeth have been known from the Prince Creek Formation, which is quite a well-known Alaskan formation for dinosaurs during the Cretaceous period. These teeth were first referred to as Gorgosaurus teeth. If you've seen the Walking with Dinosaurs film, that's a Gorgosaurus. That's the main villain of the piece, I suppose. That's in that. In fact, that is the Prince Creek Formation
Right.
that takes place in.
Didn't know
So
that.
if you pictured that film, picture that basically. If not, go and watch that film. It's all right. I quite enjoy it.
It's
But,
okay, yeah.
yeah. Later, after the locale was better understood and younger than it was thought to be, so that the rocks were aged incorrectly and basically turned out they were younger, the consensus was that these teeth were actually from something like an Albertosaurus. Both of these are Tyrannosaur relatives, but they aren't as advanced as T-Rex. They're earlier cousins. But it wasn't until 2006 when fossilized remains of what appeared to be a medium-sized theropod located at the Kikak Tegosek quarry. I probably butchered that. I apologize to all the Alaskans. Of the Prince Creek Formation, there was some material found, multiple fragments of an animal's skull, lots of bits of pieces, basically. It was a good collection of little pieces, all thought to be from the same animal. And the estimates that were given based on all the pieces when they were put back together for the skull was somewhere around 60 to 70 centimeters in length. So a decent sized skull. Now, after preparation and analysis at the Perrott Museum of Nature and Science, which is actually the Dallas Museum of Natural History, this Alaskan Tyrannosaurids remains, as they were called at the time, that was basically just the name that they were given as Alaskan Tyrannosaurid. No one was quite sure what it was, other than it was from Alaska and it was a Tyrannosaurid. Recognized that it finally represented a new taxon, as opposed to being one from an already known genus. This was standing on its own, and this basically lumped all of that material that they had previously together and prompted the creation of a new genus, Nanooksaurus. And it was described and named by Anthony R. Fiorillo and Ronald S. Toyoski in 2014. They gave it its formal description as the polar bear lizard, which fits in quite nicely, I think. Now, Nanooksaurus is estimated to be around 5 to 6 meters long. Don't hold me to that, because this is where it gets a bit difficult. And estimated to have weighed around 500 to 900 kilos in weight and roughly 2 meters tall, which actually gives it similar proportions in some ways to an actual polar bear. Not the 5 to 6 meters long, but certainly the weight of 500 to 900 kilos and 2 meters tall puts it in the range of basically sort of body mass like a polar bear. However, there is some dispute over those sizes, and there are some people that say it could be as long as 9 meters and as short as 5 meters. So there seems to be a variety of sizes, depending on who you speak to, which paper you read, and which size estimates they're taking it from different parts of the body.
A bit like Megalosaurus.
Yeah, it's
that one is disputed over its size.
Yeah, and it could all change tomorrow if we found some new bits and pieces. But whatever the animal size, they would have been similar in appearance to other tyrannosaurs and variety of it, tyrannosaurid cousins, with a large head full of teeth built for killing and basically chomping into their prey and doing maximum damage with those teeth. 2 short-fingered hands, which we're all quite famous for in the Tyrannosaurid family. Sizable feet for running, but also holding down their prey whilst the jaws did the killing work.
Yep.
And presumably, and I say presumably because we haven't got any direct evidence as of yet, probably feathers or proto-feathers on the body as well. Now, we've looked at the Uteranus in a previous episode, which is known to have feathers on its body, and that's due to some wonderfully preserved specimens. This one, however, we just haven't got those wonderfully preserved specimens, but you can assume that if it's an animal that's living in a cold environment, it is going to have some sort of physical adaptation to allow it to survive there. It makes perfect sense. And if its earlier cousin has them, almost certainly it's present in the family. It's there to lose, basically, not to gain. So yeah, I would say that they probably got feathers. As to what color the feathers were, it'd probably be beneficial to be something that blends in with a boreal, wintry habitat. Right. So, well, Aaron, when you bring us home, what are we looking at for our our final Christmas species this year?
Well, it is definitely a Christmas species for some reason we'll get into. But before I get into it, I just want to apologise in advance to everybody, because like sheep is something of a trigger for Drew to go off on a rant. The pop culture of our times during this season can occasionally bring out a little bit of a ranty side to me.
Don't you have a go at Muppets Christmas?
So if I start to grit my teeth a little bit, I'm kind of sorry and not sorry simultaneously. Anyway, let's get through this. For an animal quintessentially linked to the most popular holiday of the Western world, it's completely mind-boggling how irredeemably we've let the European turtle dove down. I know that's a sort of bleak way to begin a creature feature, but I'm thinking I'll get this bit out of the way with first, so that we can move on to.
Well, we are in the bleak midwinter.
We'll move on to better things if this creature feature will have better things. That is for you to decide. Because frankly, the future of this species is not looking particularly good. So it won't come as a surprise to anyone listening to this podcast that the usual suspects of modern agricultural practices and bird shoots are mostly to blame for the downfall of this beautiful bird. Nor should it come as a surprise to anybody at all, anywhere in the world, that the UK are the worst for it. Just to underline that with a statistic, we've lost 93% of our turtle dove population over the course of just the last 30 years. So we are atrocious with our wildlife, whether people like to admit that or not. Essentially, farming has ensured that the shoots and seeds on which it feeds are seen as weeds. There's a rhyme in there somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, might have a new Christmas carol there.
As such, these birds are discouraged from agricultural land, and because their food is discouraged from agricultural land, and so essentially this land starves the turtle dove populations. Now, this is compounded not just by the land being used to shoot birds being useless to the species, but some places, namely Cyprus, France, Greece, Italy, Spain, and surprise, surprise, Malta, have been actively shooting the species at a rate of 2 to 4 million per year. So yeah, this bird is not having a good time, unfortunately. And unfortunately, Malta are one of those weird cases where they seem to be above the EU law on bird shooting and are basically allowed to continue doing so.
Don't tell me it's their culture.
I think it was something to do with that, yeah. I'm really not interested in excuses for it.
No, I mean, that's a rubbish excuse.
Tradition is all well and good, but, you know, there comes a time where we move on. That's why they get left in the past eventually. Some maybe should stay, but in terms of hunting things, that's a tradition that can be gone. Anyway, luckily the EU has had the sense to install a ban on hunting turtle doves throughout France and Iberia, roughly about 3 years ago.
But if they can't get through Malta to get to France or Iberia,
this is it. As a result, this summer saw a 25% increase in these countries, proving that hunting was indeed a major contributor to their downfall. I mean,
shock.
The statistics themselves say as much. When you're hunting 2 to 4 million per year, you're probably having something of an impact.
That's like me saying, now I'm not having a huge impact on eating all the mince pies, but I have eaten all bar one in the box.
Exactly.
It's not me, it's something else.
We're not having that much of an impact on turtle doves. We let 10 or 15 go through. It's only 2 to 4 million per year. Anyway, we'll move on from that bit. Now, as much as I would prefer to tell you about why the European turtle dove is important to Demeter, ironically, the Greek goddess of harvest and agriculture, especially at this time of year, which used to be the celebration of the Greek titan Kronos' birthday, in an event that Romans would eventually come to call the Saturnalia.
Yeah.
It's called the Christmas episode, again, despite the resistance I put up against that label. And so I have to talk about the pop culture surrounding this creature as it pertains to yet another pagan celebration stolen by monotheistic cults. By the way, I'm not religious at all, so I have no skin in the game. I just don't like bullies, and well, there it is.
Come at him, Christianity.
It's not just Christianity, is it? You know, I said monotheistic.
All right, come at him, monotheistic religions.
So anyway, turtle doves, Christmas. This species makes its entrance to the Christmas celebrations through the song "The 12 Days of Christmas," which, if you can't tell, is not a song that I particularly like that much. If you haven't heard this song, don't YouTube it. Instead, YouTube WWE The Rock sings 12 Days of Christmas, and you'll be far happier for it.
Is he any good at singing?
Hmm.
Is it a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger singing?
No, it'd probably be better than that. But I mean, it's kind of up the standard of "You're Welcome" from Moana.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
It's not horrendous, but
Can I suggest?
passable, yes.
Can I suggest a better version that I think is up there, maybe very much up there with The Rock sings the 12 Days of Christmas. This is Frank Kelly, who is Father Jack Hackett from Father Ted.
All right, never
As
seen
in-
that.
Oh,
No.
go and watch Father Ted, who's the drunk old man who sits in the corner. He sings the 12 Days of Christmas, but essentially it is the person who he is writing to in the 12 Days of Christmas has been sending him the literal gifts in every single one,
Right.
and is being terrorized by the fact that the partridge in a pear tree has been initially that's lovely, you know, it's a nice gift. We're getting used to feeding the partridge. It's sort of pooing on the furniture, and it gets worse as obviously, you know, 12 drummers drumming and pipers piping, and they're keeping his mother up all night and everything. She's drinking bottles of whiskey and chewing Valium to keep herself sane, and at the end of it, he's just completely loses it. And it's go and listen to that one as well.
So that does sound good, but that sounds like it keeps quite true to the actual lyrics.
It is, yes.
The Rock's version, it's a promo that he cut on a wrestler who's now unfortunately deceased, called Test. And he basically just tears into the guy, like taking the mick out of the guy and telling him what he's going to do. I think it ends with something like 4 rock bottoms, 3 people's elbows on your 2 buck teeth, and an ass whipping over New Orleans. Which I think is great. But yeah, anyway, the song, as Gareth's kind of already alluded to there, if you don't know, you probably do know. Yeah. But if I have to painfully talk about a Christmas species, you guys have to listen to me do it. Anyway, the song lists gifts given to the singer by their true love. A true love who either knows their partner loves modern dinosaurs or, more likely, doesn't particularly feel the same way and is filling his or her house with random numbers of combinations of varying species of bird to make as much mess as possible before inevitably dumping his or her ass sometime early in the new year. You decide.
The Frank Kelly version.
So, the turtle doves are given on the 2nd day of Christmas. Now, England isn't the only place with such a song at this time of year. Scotland, France, and Scandinavia all have their own variants. Many of them a bit kinder to their true love by suggesting they'd give them things that would either keep them warm, feed them, or adorn them like jewelry, or otherwise be of use and not pooping on your sofa and your kitchen counter. But the French one also mentions 2 turtle doves on the 2nd day. Despite this apparently similar song throughout the more northwestern parts of Europe, it's unclear where this song actually originates. What its meaning is also pretty unclear, and how it decided to link turtle doves to Christmas is also a decision that is not clear. Though it is generally accepted that the 12 days of Christmas come after Christmas, which is why I say that
I always find that a bit of an odd thing.
Yeah. I think that's also why you're supposed to it's supposed to be superstition. I think that you've got to take your decorations down by the 12th day. Maybe if you don't take them down by the 12th day, someone sends you a load of birds to mess up.
I've always gone with as long as you take it down within the first week of New Year's, then you know, yeah.
Fair enough.
I'd like to point out I don't have my tree up at the moment.
Before I met Gareth, I had a plug-in tree, and that's all I did for Christmas.
Now, whilst I'm going to take a bit of a tangent away from turtle doves just quickly to say that whilst we don't know clearly where the origin is, there might actually be a species in this song that kind of gives it away where it comes from, because the partridge, there's a chance that the partridge that's listed as being in the pear tree, the partridge that precedes the 2 turtle doves actually hints at the origin point of the sun. Can you guess why?
Because you don't get them in Britain. Partridge, like red-legged partridge.
Very good. There we go. Bang. Straight
So
away.
that would be. It would be France or Spain.
Yeah. So the partridge.
Do partridges migrate first?
Sorry.
Do partridges migrate first?
No, partridges do not migrate to the UK. We introduce them.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, because the partridge is perched. This is the important part. The partridge is perched in a tree. This is something that the common partridge of the UK doesn't usually do, but the mainland red-legged partridge do far more commonly, and these weren't introduced to England until 1770. But that is if you take the lyrics literally, and if you subscribe to the belief that the song entered English halls in the same century or later, which actually there is some evidence of to support that anyway. But yeah, back to European turtle doves. Smaller than most doves, the European turtle dove gets to sizes of up to 28 centimeters. So that's 11 inches for you guys across the pond, and 156 grams or 5.5 ounces. They have a wingspan of 53 centimeters, which is actually bigger than I thought it would be. That's 21 inches, by the way. It's browner than other turtle dove species, with a black and white striped pattern on the side of their necks. The beak is black, and the rings around the eyes are red, but the rest of the head is bluish grey, as are the sides and the bum, whilst the abdomen itself is white. And from above, the tail has a darker center with white outlining it, but from below, the tail looks more like it is white with a black chevron. And also, whilst the bird is in flight, the tail looks, it kind of takes on a wedge-like form. The wings are probably the most stunning part of the species appearance. It's mottled red-brown with black, and it actually looks a lot like a turtle shell. Its legs are red, much like the red-legged partridge that I mentioned above. Now, looking at this appearance, especially those gorgeous wings, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it is named after a certain other reptilian species. But actually, it has no connection whatsoever. The name turtle dove and the name turtle have no connection. In Old English, the male bird was called a turtle, and the female was called a... No, the male was called a turtler, and the female was called a turtle. These terms came from the Latin turter, which is an onomatopoeic word intended to imitate the sound that the species produces in its song. Yeah, and also it makes up the specific part of their binomial name. So that is Streptopelia turta, which basically translates to collared dove, turtle dove. Exactly, yeah. They are a migratory species, wintering in the southern Sahara and then moving up to cover most of North Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. And they tend to prefer habitats of open land where it has room to nest and can safely feed on the ground where farms haven't ravaged their feed options. Yeah, that is, in a Christmassy nutshell, the turtle dove.
That's pretty good.
European turtle dove.
I had no idea about their name being onomatopoeic and where the turtle bit came from. That's always sort of been one of those things that I've never bothered to look into. But
yeah, no, I always thought it was because the almost tortoise-shell appearance of their wings. I thought, oh, maybe that's why they're called a turtle dove, but no, completely unrelated.
Should we see how many different birds we could get in here? You know, to try and recreate that, we'd have to
Absolutely
get
not.
some geese. Some swans? Get them all in here. You know, just basically turn into an absolute bird massacre of us getting annihilated by a variety of birds.
Trying to do the podcast with all that squeaking and squawking, and
one swan's big enough.
Pooing on us, and apparently good luck if you get pooed on. That's if you're superstitious.
Then I must be the luckiest person in the world. I was say every bird keeper must be the most lucky person in the world. The amount of birds I got pooed on over the years would be, I should have been winning the lottery every week. But no, I don't hold much to that one, I'm afraid.
I remember, I think I was in France. We were all eating baguettes, and bird a pigeon pooed in my baguette.
Oh,
I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
Good
Um,
aim though.
yeah.
I think I figuratively had a bit of a tantrum for that.
I think I would as well.
Yeah,
At least you noticed it. At least you weren't eating something like a vaguely like a chicken and bacon or something that looks vaguely sort of creamy and it all just sort of mixed in. You didn't notice, you know.
No, oh no, no.
This tastes a bit off.
That's not the one.
Well, should we move into our emails for this week then?
Festive, yeah.
Our festive.
Let's.
We'll wrap it up in a nice little bow.
Oh.
Bing! You've got mail. Ooh, it's an email.
Oh, we're in. Yeah, I'll have that in a minute. So we're into our emails for this week. We've had no question for this week because we thought we'd give you Christmas off. I think that'd be a nice present from us. But we have got some emails and some questions sent in to us from some of our wonderful viewers and listeners. So I'll start things off. It is a question for us.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Prepare to join in on this one, Paris.
Okay.
So this is coming from Leodore, who sent us a question previously that we've used as a week's question. She said, "Fabulous episode as always. Might try and make a thing now to come up with some more cracking questions. Please do. Always interesting." So she's got a double question for us. You have the power to either remove an animal or species from Earth, or add a completely new one. So she's given sort of 2 points. What action are you choosing? Are you either removing a species or you're adding a species? And if so, what animal and why? She's then given her example. My example would be, I would like to add a new harmless insect that solely eats bird poo. It'll be small, a winged insect that has a longer lifespan of about 5 years and only reproduces 10 eggs a year. She's being very specific with this. So we're not going to be swarmed by this new pest, but you don't have to curse the, she's put seagulls, I will point out heron gulls, for ruining your windscreen. Also, did not realize I was not subscribed to your YouTube channel, Swiftly Rectified. Yes, there you go. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel or to any of the places where we are, go and change that now. Subscribe, like, subscribe, all of those things, as we always say.
Yeah, welcome to the YouTube subscription then.
Yes. Right. Well, Paris, what are you doing? Are you adding a species or are you removing a species?
I'm not sure. There's been a few things recently where I'm feeling a little dark with my choices. So
Remember
if I was going to remove a species, it would likely be man.
No.
But if I was going to add a species, I think I'd probably go over the top, and it would be something like a unicorn or a dragon, just to bring a little bit of magic back into the world.
Okay. Yeah. Aaron, what are you doing?
See, I was gonna initially, my first thought was like torn between bantha and tauntaun. But then Leah actually suggested an animal that actually had a function. It was, like it was a conceivably real animal, not something from a sci-fi film, which
Tauntaun's got a function. What else are you going to sleep in on a cold winter's night?
I thought they smelled bad on the outside. I think I might. I think I probably would side with Paris on this, and I'd bring dragons. But if I have to pick a species, then I think I'm gonna have to go down the wyvern route.
Okay. Yeah.
As much as I like the Welsh dragon,
the sort of hexapod.
as
dragon,
I've gotten older, the hexapod idea. There's just nothing else out there other than insects. There's nothing else out there that does it. So
fair enough.
So yeah,
you two are clearly wanting to watch the world burn.
Oh, I definitely tame them. I definitely tame them.
Could be the never-ending story dragon.
Oh, a luck dragon.
Oh no, not for me. For me, it's got to be either like Smaug or Balerion the Dread. I want to be the person who's able to say, "Oh, you've got nukes. That's cute. That's really cute. Let me flame you with my living flying lizard beast."
Okay. Well, I feel like my suggestion's going to be like really, really down to earth now. I'm not going to get rid of anything because
If you get rid of some, this is the thing. If you get rid of something, then there is a trickle effect.
yeah. It's not something I think I could ever live with myself and go, yes, let's get rid of them. No, I'm gonna. There's so many things that I would just bring back. Basically, just pull from time and bring into the present.
That was another route I was going to go.
Would be the way I'd go with this. But to slot them into modern day, you know, in some way or another. The thing I think I would have to do, I'm torn because the chaotic part of me wants to go, yeah, Utah Raptor or Dakota Raptor. I want packs of those things roaming around, you know, their old haunts of Utah and Dakota. Basically, people don't like wolves. Well, these are a bit bigger.
At least I chose the humane option in getting rid of people.
I mean, what real world Jurassic Park? You can have it. Although I still think actually that they'd probably end up being shot by people because let's face it, they're not movie monsters. They are still real creatures.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be awesome. That would be the chaotic one where I'm introducing a completely alien predator to you know, a modern ecosystem. The other way I'd go with it, the more peaceful way, I say peaceful because it would still cause chaos. I want to see Argentinosaurus, herds of Argentinosaurus roaming across the place, and I want to drop them off anywhere and everywhere I can. You know, not just Argentina. I want them roaming through North Devon, you know, like munching on pine trees at the side of the road. We get enough traffic that stops around here because of tractors there, or, you know, people bringing a caravan down a road. I want it to be something that instead of me just getting annoyed that people are sat there, you know, blocking a lane, I want it to be a dinosaur so I can sit there and go, I'm late, but I don't care. You know, you ought to be just staring at this thing as it goes, I'm not moving. You go round. You know, I think that'd be the perfect thing to bring back.
Yeah, I like the idea of bringing something back through time.
So colossally large that it basically you can't miss it. You know.
Would it survive in modern day?
Sorry.
What would it eat?
What would it? Conifers and pine trees, ferns. Most of them
enough to sustain it.
I think most of the plantations of conifers around here would certainly sustain an animal that size. The tree industry might, you know, take a hit, but imagine one of them just grazing out the Lalandia hedge.
Try and cull that, eh? NFU.
Well, that's true. Well, I think that's a really good question.
That is a good question. I like that one.
Yeah,
it's got me thinking. Well,
let us know in the comments what you think you would bring, you know, into the real world or take out of the real world. Yeah, I think, you know, cause some chaos along the way. Why not?
Introduce a little chaos.
Exactly. So one way you can get in contact with us is the way that Leodore did by sending that through our social media, through our Facebook page. You can also do that on our Instagram and our TikTok as well. Been having some interesting conversations with people over the TikTok things. All the little videos have been going up. I'd like to point out that what I thought was going to be more popular did not work out to what I thought. I thought penguin, people are going to find that really interesting. Dung beetle, people find it far more interesting. I love the fact that people are finding dung beetles more interesting than penguins, but that's algorithms for you, I guess. I don't know. But yes, you can find us on there as well. You can also get in contact with us by sending an email through to our actual email address, which is thenathistorykcupboard@gmail.com. So you can send us anything there that you want to let us know about. News articles for next year. You can send us any information about anything you want to do, or any question you think that we should try and answer for you. So yeah. The other way you can get in contact with us is via our Patreon, which Aaron is going to tell us about now.
Absolutely, yeah. Every week we like to shout out our wonderful Patreon supporters and give them a little bit of love back. Now, these are the cupboard dwellers who are actively supporting us through a financial contribution, for which we are grateful beyond words. And those people are, of course, Bogtober, Jen Greenhall, Connie P, Chelsea McKee, Nick Tinick, and Matt Jedi. Guys, your financial contributions are actively helping us here in the Natural History Cupboard in a myriad of ways. And we really cannot thank you enough. Now, we appreciate all of our cupboard dwellers and what you guys do to support us, either by listening, watching, sharing, subscribing, liking, ringing that bell on YouTube. All those things really help. But if you feel we've earned it and you're thinking of joining our Patreon tribe, there are two options through which you can do this. That's the Nature Nerds or the Animal Ambassadors. And there's more on those two on the Patreon site itself.
Interestingly enough, makes a good Christmas present for someone. Shameless plug there.
Well, once again, thank you guys so very much for supporting us.
Yeah.
I think also this time of year, perhaps wise to thank everybody who's helped us out on the podcast too. So that's obviously Paris coming on board today, but also supporting Gareth, Atta supporting me, Drew and Jess for the support they give the podcast, and of course people like Phil Barber and David Silver, all these people that have been on to the podcast over the last 4 years to help us out in some way or another. It's been absolutely spectacular.
Yeah. Massive thank you to all of our patrons there, and to everyone who is listening, watching, doing whatever, getting involved, even just saying hello. All makes a huge difference. And like Aaron said, there's a variety of different ways you can get in contact with us. They don't all cost money, but they all help out in the long run. So a big thank you to all of you. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this year's Christmas episode, our first video one, which I think has gone rather well, don't you?
Yeah.
Paris, how do you think it's gone?
Absolutely great, loved it.
Your antlers haven't fallen off, so that's good.
Not yet.
No. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end. So big thank you, Paris, for coming along, and I'll be home in a bit.
Thanks for hosting me.
I may not have many of the mince pies left, but we'll see.
Not a problem.
And a big thank you, Aaron.
You're very welcome, and God Yule to you.
What?
It's that's how you say like Happy Yule, I think. I think it's
So you
can't remember, is some I think it's a Scandinavian language, but not one that's used today, I don't think.
I mean, the only ones I can think of are Nadoli Clywyn, which is Welsh for Merry Christmas, and Feliz Navidad.
I could have said that.
That would have made far more sense.
It would have made more sense, yeah.
Paris, you got any ways of saying Merry Christmas?
Happy holidays for those of them who don't celebrate Christmas.
Oh yeah, that as well. Yeah. Well, we'll see you next time here in the Natural History Cupboard. Bye.
Did you
Bye.
just and like a weakest link kind of wink then?
No,
I'm sure I saw you.
Ho ho ho.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
One does not simply send an entire menagerie's worth of birds without really kind of despising someone.
Yeah. I mean, we love birds, though.
Oh yeah.
Just don't send them to us.
Just don't send me an entire flock of swans. I don't need that. Anyway, Merry Christmas.
Bye.